let's get into the real reason why you're here, and that is to talk about Beast Heart Strikers. You guys have had a couple starts and stops with this book, and I'm kind of curious to see what the road was from when you first started to self-publish it to where we are right now.
We sent it off to a few publishers just last week. So, so we'll see. So we'll see. I don't know. It's the same story I think we've mentioned a few times. Just Joe and I became friends over Instagram and Twitter, and just I liked his stuff, and I was like, "Hey, let's jam on a book," and then we did. And for some reason, he said yes, and he's been stuck with me. So about New York Comic Con 2019, before the world shut down, he came out. We mapped out like 24 or 36 issues. We're only on number 3. I'm still writing 4. I mean, DIY is hard. Anybody will tell you that. Especially when it's 3 people, me, Joe, and Frank Svetkovic, our letterer. And I mean, it's rough trying to put in everything like that and trying to jumpstart your own PR company. I mean, jumpstart the PR for everything that you do. So, yeah, I don't know. It's been a journey, but it's been 4 years now, and to be featured in Image, in such a awesome book like Radiant Black, that got recently Eisner nominated a couple months back, or last month. Again, what is time? And it's been great. I think we have some really cool stuff stuff planned. Whether or not it'll come into fruition is, it could be vetoed at any given time if nothing works. But I loved working with Kyle and Michael and Joe on this, and we got fan mail. That was weird.
That's awesome.
But we did. We did. Did you read the back? Yeah, go read the back letter. The blackmail for Radiant, and people were talking about it. Yeah. So, I mean, it was just weird. It's been surreal, but it's kind of like the book I've always kind of wanted to do, and it's not just us writing Power Rangers. It's not just us writing like, oh, okay, this is kind of Toku adjacent. I feel like it's definitely something different, and there's so many stories you can kind of tell with it, and so hopefully we can get to that.
Awesome. Yeah, it's just I've from the book that I've read, I don't have a foot in that tokusatsu experience world, but it was still highly enjoyable. I loved it a lot. It's been great to see Joe's art evolve from the first.
That's been the wildest. That's been the wildest thing.
Because Joe,
because
you went from like, yeah, Joe's good to like, fuck, Joe's good. Like,
and he doesn't he doesn't see it like how the rest of us have seen it grow and evolve, because he's just going through it through like first person view. He can't like take a step back and really notice his changes and stuff. And I know it bothers him every time he gets like a, wow, this looks like Brian O'Malley. And he's like, I guess, thanks. But it doesn't. That's the weirdest part about it. It doesn't. It looks
better to me, especially given the topic and the material,
But I mean, you can definitely see like his influences. But it's there's that page in First Strike Part 4 where it's them transforming essentially for the first time as a team, and the composition I really wanted for that page. And because I do help with the thumbs sometimes, if he's trying to figure out, I was like, man, I'll just do this in CAD or bust out some references the best way I can using like Instagram thumbnails. But or our favorite, my favorite joke is when I send him notes or thumbs, it kind of looks like Charlie Day's like serial killer drawings of
Yeah.
just like him trying to figure out what is this? It's bad. It's real bad. But he makes, I think we've kind of worked out a shorthand, and a that page in itself is just so good. And you can definitely see the evolution of where he was 4 years ago when we did our first issue, and you can definitely see how he's come along and how he does his storytelling and how he does his um, panel compositions and how he does his page compositions and panel breakdowns. So yeah, I give him props for toughing it out with me. So
Joe, have you been taking in any additional influences or anything like that with your art in the past couple years, or
Um, I've been reading a lot of manga from like the 60s, 70s, and 80s for some reason, and I think that's starting to seep in a little bit. Reading a lot of Rumiko Takahashi. Yeah, I don't know. Again, bad at talking about art.
well, Len and I are more than happy to extol the virtues of your art for everybody, but I've noticed a huge shift in just how you're merging in your color with your actual line drawing and all that, and how much more, I guess, I don't want to say seamless, but just how much it just encompasses as a whole, as opposed to like, oh, Joe's line art, Joe's color. It's just like Joe's art, and
yeah,
that's been something that's been really cool to see, because as someone who is very firmly in like, yeah, I'll color something, but I would not consider myself a full on colorist. I always kind of wonder the thought process for artists who kind of who kind of have that kind of merging of the two skills. Did you when you do a piece, do you? And I'm pretty sure I asked you this before, but if I wonder if it's the answer has changed at all, is do you think of it as a whole, as with the color, or is it just kind of you kind of throw everything at it until you see what sticks?
Definitely the latter.
Well, it is real. It is real fun. Especially working in digital, to just kind of just keep piling things on and piling things on. But eventually, you got to stop. There's a point where it's way too much, and I've definitely hit that with a few things. So whenever the results are such as yours, Joe, it's always like, wow, okay, like it really feels like super intentional decisions were made, but it sounds like it's just, no, you just got that good of an eye. You're like, yeah, that looks good. Here it is.
he's very hands-on with his coloring. Anytime I try to suggest just someone to even just help him with the load, he's like, no, because I know what I want out of my colors.
Well, it's not exactly that. I just don't know how to explain what I want because, again,
right.
bad at talking about art.
But even like when you try to, because you've made what is it, color? I don't know the exact word. It's not color wheels, but it's palettes. You've definitely made, yeah, you've definitely made like palettes and stuff like that before for people who are at least coming in like flat you, because we've had flatters and stuff like that. But Hank Jones was our first flatter and color assist, and he's a colorist now at Marvel and DC and Image and all over the place, and one of my best friends. But yeah, having to explain, like, that's the idea. So when we talk about color schemes, especially like what I want in like some scenes or whatever, Joe will show up and he's like, hey, what do you think about this? And then he'll send me pages of like Sailor Moon backgrounds, and I'm like, yeah, perfect. I mean, these are just like pages and pages of references of stuff. And there was that book you brought when you came out. When I see November, when he came to visit November, he had this book I hunted down afterwards. It's like this art book for like retro, like Japanese, like commercial art, but also just really just good stuff along the way. And you can definitely see how he takes a lot of incorporates like I look at something like even like Dominion Tank Police or anime or Appleseed or like the anime when I called it Japanimation in the early 90s. You can definitely see, I know, you can definitely see a lot of what Joe pulls from here and there, at least like schematic, like tonal wise and everything. So, but yeah, every time I try to ask, he's like, I have a very specific look. Don't fuck with it. I got it. I'm like, all right, cool. You got it. I'm not gonna question it. So,
Awesome. It's been like kind of like an explosion of these kind of Power Rangers tokusatsu inspired books in the past few years. Are there any of them that you've been enjoying or reading that you've kind of like see as kind of companions to Beastheart, or because Beastheart reads as its own thing, but is there something that you're like, if you like this, what would be a good companion book, do you think?
my favorite thing is when people take a look at BHS, they're like, "This looks like Power Rangers," and my response is always like, "Fucking hope so." Like, like, goddamn guy. Like, I mean, I wear my inspirations on my sleeve, and then I basically yell it to you when I hand you this. I just got back from Ranger Stop. God, last week. Yeah, I got in Monday because it was my birthday last week. Um, and that's how I wanted to do for my birthday. I wanted to go down to see my friends in Atlanta and go to a Power Ranger convention. So I saw a lot of people. It's whatever a 39-year-old wants to do. And so
Sorry.
I went down there and like there's a lot of people who are like, oh, I got this Toku book and I got this and like Ventura Santiago and Mark with two Ks. Oh my God, Bozo Robo, and it's great. And it's weird when I get like messages from friends like, "Hey, is it okay if I start my own Toku book?" I was like, "I'm not going to stop you. I don't own I don't own Sentai. I don't own the concept of Tokusatsu. I don't own the concept of Super Sentai. I don't own the concept of Metal Hero. I don't own it. Like, go. I don't care. I'm not gonna be mad. It's not competition. It's just more shit I want to check out. I want to see what you do with it. I want to see how you make it different, how you make it your own. So with Beach Heart, with Beach Heart Strikers, we made them immortal. And when because I remember talking to Kyle about Power Rangers years and years ago, and he's like, the biggest challenge of Power Rangers is making you care about the high school stuff after you've done like super cosmic stuff. Like, I don't give a like, should you care about prom when they've like saved the universe 80 times already? Should you? So like, what is the heart of the book? And that's sort of like, heart of having to hide yourself and having to not really able to set roots and everything because you're immortal. It's like those Highlander elements I wanted to put in because I'm a huge Highlander nerd. And so, I mean, that's how we definitely kind of made it our own and what we wanted to do with this sort of situations. But I don't care. I mean, I think there's stuff out there like now. I mean, obviously you have Radiant Black, you have, Radiant Red, you have Rogue Sun, you have Inferno Girl Red, all that stuff coming. You have the Massiverse, and it's great stuff, and it's great stuff, and it's so weird when the Ultra Mega.
Yeah.
God, James Heron just crushing it across the board with Ultra Mega. So, I mean, I have one that I have something I wanted to do with Serge Acuna, and I sent him the concept of it, and he's like, "This is the weirdest thing ever. I'm into it. Let's go." And I'm like, "Yeah, see, let's," because with BHS with Joe, it can definitely be its own thing because we get asked like, "Oh, are you going to incorporate this? Are we going to get this?" I'm like, maybe. I mean, this isn't Request Live. We'll see. But Joe has concepts for like other strikers from the future. Joe has concepts for a Kamen Rider analog. Joe has concepts for whether or not we use it. It doesn't, we'll see. But they're definitely there. But I mean, if you haven't checked out the Super Sentai like Go Ranger manga from the 70s, nothing is stopping you. It's super cheap on Amazon right now. It's super cheap at your bookstore, probably. The Kamen Rider manga, also dope. So I mean, I think we're going to see more and more of this stuff. Hopefully, I think this is going to be not like a trend, but I mean, it's definitely the new early '90s. How there was a surge of like teen superhero groups like Gym 13 and everything like that over there, or at least like X-Force analogs like Wildcats and Cyberforce. And I mean, so it doesn't matter. I mean, the more the merrier. I don't care. I don't see them as competition. I just, again, see it as just how are you going to make it different, how are you going to make it yours, and let's go. Let's have some fun.
Why would you rail against something that's like more of the thing you like?
Why would I be against that?
Yeah.
Why? I don't see it as anything. I would be like, oh wow. I don't know. It's weird. You know, when Pacific Rim came out, there was a bunch of, you know, kind of like mech comics that people made, like the Jeremy Treese at Rubspringer, which was like Amish building their own mechs. And then people were just making like their own like sort of mech comic, and like just make more of the shit you want, man. Like make more of the cool stuff you like, the cool stuff you want to see in the world. You know, people say like be the change you want to see, but be also the cool shit you want to see. Just make it. So
so on top of, you know, tokusatsu stuff and all that, you guys are both huge wrestling fans, and Joe, you had the opportunity to design some wrestling outfits for some wrestlers. You've kind of made comments here on Twitter about how it feels, but like, what was that process like? Were you know, did they approach you? Were you a fan and just kind of like drew them up for fun, and they're like, hey, we like this?
So I've been friends with Green Ant, who's now Ultimo Ant, for like a while now, and I had designed like an entrance jacket for him when he'd gone to Japan, and he and his tag partner were kind of looking to like rebrand a little bit for unfortunate circumstances that I don't really have time to go into. But I basically offered to help him out with some costume designy stuff, and I didn't think he liked what I came up with all that much. And then, like a couple weeks later, he sends me pictures, and he's like actually making the stuff, and it's like the coolest shit in the world.
Nice.
Oh,
so I think if I recall, you mentioned you had a tweet where it was interesting to see those costumes in motion and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Which it has to be really incredibly wild just to see, like, you know, stuff you drew is now on a person's body, and now they're like flying through the air, smashing elbows, and what would is designing wrestlers' outfits and stuff like that, is that something you've always kind of wanted to do, or is it kind of something that you've just kind of you know, would happily fall into?
Kind of fell into it. Like I never really actively pursued it, but like it's basically not too much difference from what I do anyway. So,
well, yeah. What are wrestlers if not, you know, our modern, you know, real superheroes, you know, with the grandeur and the outfits and stuff like that. So, if you guys were to be a tag team, a wrestling tag team.
Uh-oh.
I take it you've had this question before. I'm sure you have, right?
No, but I want to know where it's going.
Well, what would be your names, and what would be your gimmicks?
Okay. Oh man, I feel like the funny answer would be Lone Bear and Cub. I feel like that would be the right answer with this. But without the cultural appropriation. But yeah, I feel like that's the right answer. I could be wrong, but I feel like that's the right answer here. But we've both done wrestling training. I did some Shikara stuff and then broke my body. God, that was 3 years ago. Wow. Yeah, no, thank you. I just had to remember, like, I died. Like, um, yeah, it was awful. Uh, I mean, it's just something like, yeah, I feel like every wrestling fan should at least try to experience. Like, who is having a course? Oh, well, this XY person is doing like a seminar, and it's, you know, I've never seen more. I've never seen one that charges like $100. This was a free seminar. But I've seen like I know that the New Japan Dojo is doing a seminar with Shibata and Hiroshi Tanahashi for like $60.
Fuck.
Like what? How? So I feel like that's just at least something you should at least try in your life at least once. But I know Joe wrestled um, locally, and he writes some really good promos. Because he's written promos for people.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And that's actually one of my favorite writing prompts. If I feel rusty or if I need to get something like get the creative juices flowing, I'll write a promo in my head or cut a promo on breakfast. And I see that Eddie Kingston had done that. He cut a promo on Cookie in a class, and I was like, "That's what I've done. I've like that's how that works. It's the exact same process." So. But yeah, I mean, I'm still stuck on Lone Bear and Cub. I still feel like that's the winner. I feel like that's the winner. I could be wrong.
What do you say, Joe? Is it Lone Bear and Cub?
Yeah, sure. What the hell?
Well, it's hard to tell, but Joe is like 6'5", 6'4", 6'5". Like he's okay. Sorry, whatever. He's like an actual. I remember our first time meeting, 3 years ago, and he just gets out of the car and he is just this mountain. I was like, oh shit, you are like you up there. So like that's why he's looking down because he can't help but like look down on everybody else because he's just like that tall. So
No, I just need a desk.
oh, that too. But I mean, still, like, I mean, you're a big dude. We're tabling at Heroes this weekend, and they offered us a third chair, and I was like, "There's no way all three of us are gonna fit, man. There's no way." It's because I told our other table mate Sarah Amundsen, who's great. She's worked for Disney, and now she's trying to get back into serious business making comics. And I was like, she's never met Joe, and I gave her a heads up, like he's built like a truck. We're not all going to be at the table. We're going to like rotate, like duck goose. But yeah, Lone Bear and Cub. Let's make that a thing. I love it.
I feel like everyone I've met in comics in real life is either so much taller or so much shorter than I ever imagined they would be.
There's a picture of me and Johnny Gargano. I met Johnny about almost 3 weeks ago now, and there's a picture of us, and I had a friend ask, "How tall are you?" I'm like, "That's not the question you need to be asking. How tall is he?"
Yeah.
Just Johnny Gargano, not a tall guy. So
Like ripped hobbit.
yeah, exactly. We stand a short king around here. We stand a Midwest short king around here. But yeah, I mean, I'm average. I'm 5'10". I can't. And it's so funny because my mom's super tall and my dad's super short, so I just happen to even out.
Well, as one of the, I guess, shorts.
How tall are you?
I like to say in the morning I'm 5'7". By the evening I'm 5'6". By the time life has gotten through with me, it's 5'6". But no, it's no,
But
yeah, it is.
You have like these broad shoulders, and like I was like, oh man, so you're like a Wolverine.
I'm a stocky fellow. Yeah, I'm probably the
Okay.
definition of the term stocky if you think about it.
I like it. Stocky Don.
Yeah. All 220 of me is just anyway. So no, so I appreciate you standing a short king because I thought for years
We
I'm
have
like
to.
I've just seen like, oh, average is like 5'6", 5'7", and all of a sudden like, no, average is 5'10", and I'm like, the fuck that happened?
Here's the best part. Now you're
Yeah,
Cub. You're the Cub now.
I guess so.
Like,
No, new classification. I'm a Wolverine. That's it. That's it. Yeah, I'm a Wolverine.
okay.
Badger.
There. Yeah.
Oh
There you go.
yeah, there it is.
I'll
There
take
it
it.
is.
I'll take it. I'll take it. So I can't let you go without noticing that you mentioned you're a big fan of Highlander. And
Yeah.
because
What about it?
my memory is absolute poo poo, I don't know if we've talked about this when you were on the show last year, but do you
Definitely not.
remember the catalogs from the Highlander to the series that they would send out?
I got them every time. Time. Every time they'd come out, I got them monthly. I got them monthly, my guy. Monthly. Why do you need monthly Highlander catalogs?
So anyone who's unfamiliar, the movie Highlander had a TV show in the 90s starring Adrian Paul, and I guess they hit a market because they would release a monthly catalog with like Clan MacLeod branded everything: swords, knives, brooches, pins, pens, everything.
But they also had stuff from like the Watchers. They had so you could buy like their swords, you can buy their tartans, you could buy like the Watcher. I think there was like a Watcher coats. Yeah, obviously like the swords because they sold Duncan's and Connor's hilt on a sword. Because if you remember, the actual MacLeod banner, or at least the sword that Duncan had in the movies, was a boar. He had a boar handle. And Connor from the TV show had a dragon.
And
that's the dumb shit I remember. And it will never leave my brain. Now, then we go into Quinn MacLeod of the animated series from the future. Yeah. Quinn MacLeod, I believe his name was.
But if you've ever been to a con and you walk by some of the booths selling, imagine like one of those like rustic, like all leather, and then like the sword booths and all those combined into like a catalog that was sent to like
it's like a phone book
boys in the 90s. And just imagine like just I don't know what was so fascinating about it. It's just like, look at all this cool shiny shit that I can poke people with that I can't afford. It's just like, it's good thing like that I kind of don't have that around as an adult, because I would probably be a sword guy, and that's just not good. No offense to the sword guys that we may know. I'm sure you're cool people, but you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I do, but there's Quentin. Sorry, it's Quentin MacLeod. I had to look it up, otherwise I was like, I know it began with a Q. It was also awful. But I mean, none of the after the first Highlander movie is you don't like, the show's great. Like, just watch the show. Adrian Paul's super great. I don't know. I had fun with it, but yeah, be a sword guy. Just live your life as a sword guy if you want to. I tried being a sword guy.
Like the least surprising thing about you?
Oh no, not the least surprising thing. It just got really expensive, so and hard to like move around. So,
well, I have to ask though, do you have a preferred cut of Highlander 2 that you watch? Because there's like 15 different cuts of this.
Director's cut. Let's do the director's cut. Let's do the director's cut. Let's take out all the references of the Quickening. Let's take out oh my god, but you have Ramirez on the plane talking about sitting on faces. I was trying to remember. Yeah, that's
the one where they cut out all like they're from another planet stuff, right? Okay.
Yep. All of that's gone. Okay. All that's gone. So for those of you uninitiated with Highlander mythos, real quick, Sean Connery plays Juan Sanchez Villalobos Ramirez, an Egyptian man who fights and has just been immortal for so long, who fights as a soldier for the Spanish army. So you have a Scotsman playing an Egyptian pretending to be a Spaniard.
Ah, the 80s.
Oh yeah, buddy. Oh yeah. I mean, you have Christopher Lambert. I mean, a
Yeah.
Frenchman playing a Scotsman. So is it really that off,
No.
or is it more on brand?
What if you're gonna be that wrong? Just be wrong everywhere.
Just be wrong everywhere. Because then Clancy Brown plays the Kurgan, so then you have an American playing whatever the Kurgan was supposed to be, Gothic, something. So, but yeah.
Awesome.
So anyway, welcome to our Highlander podcast.
The source.
There can only be pod.
Oh no. In about 24 hours, Land's gonna get an email from me like, listen, I know we joked about this, but
I know we joked about this, but how do you feel about doing a Highlander rewatch? I'm all in. I'm all in. So
Nightshade Zero says fantastic representation. It's just the finest quality represented.
Finest.
If you can't represent everybody, just say this one person represents like half the nationalities.
Might as well.
You get a B+ for effort, I guess.
That's being gracious.
Well, they get a couple letter grades just because they have that Killer Queen soundtrack. So,
I mean, yeah, Queen did all the music. But I mean, if we're doing B for representation, let's make sure that B stands for barely. So let's make sure about that. So
well, before I let you gentlemen go, first off, thanks again for being the guinea pigs for the first Comics Coffee Metal live stream. Despite some technical issues, I think I figured everything out. I think I figured out the echo thing.
Great.
That should be all fixed. So hopefully it's been an enjoyable experience for everybody listening. And so you gents mentioned you're going to be at Heroes Con this weekend. Can you let everybody know where they can find you?
AA221. It's on like the left side. The left side. There we go. Yeah.
All right, and on the screen, you see where you can find these gentlemen on Twitter. And once again, thank you, gentlemen, so much.
All right, thanks, Doc.